Yes, okay, so please know that this meeting is being, broadcast live, digitally recorded. It is, 6:30, and we are opening the meeting. Is anybody here for open session? No, there is not. So we will move on to announcements. Katie?
So first off, the seniors had their Thanksgiving dinner. They had almost 50 seniors over there having dinner. It was actually very nice. My Girl Scout troop helped serve, and they all pretty much had a very lovely dinner. Everyone left full. Other than that, yeah. So, which brings us to
What?
Oh, we wanna talk about that now? Okay. So, there was a small incident at the Thanksgiving dinner. One of the seniors had a medical, issue right here, pretty much basically where Sandra was sitting, and I was standing roughly right in front, yeah. And I tried to call 911 from where you would think you could easily call 911. I'm standing like, 4 feet away from a router that I'm attached to. My phone automatically attaches to, plus we're in the center of town. You'd think Wi-Fi would work, cell phone. Yeah, no connection. Absolutely no connection. So.
But you just had training.
Yeah.
So
Oh yes, I did. Yes.
Person.
No. Yes. No, this was past my training. Okay. This needed some medical attention, way above a CPR class. So I had to walk away from the patient and go into the next room to stand behind a desk to call 911, where I can't answer any of the dispatchers' questions about what is going on. I have no idea. I can't see anything. I have no idea if it's getting worse, if the patient is now unconscious. I have no idea. Which is, I'm sorry to say, is absolutely the most, it's just dumb. It's so dysfunctional. I can't tell you how many times I've called the offices and been stuck in this loop from hell, in the menu loop. You have to hang up and give it a minute, call back, and see if you can get through, because you hit the extension and it just keeps going through in this menu loop from hell. Luckily I have everyone's cell phone, so I can text like David if I need to, but most residents don't. So, and that's just trying to get a hold of the offices if the phone lines aren't even down. Thank God the phone lines weren't down that day, because then what the hell would we do? We wouldn't be able to call 911, because, you can't get cell reception and what?
They don't have a line in there?
They do, that's what I was calling from.
She couldn't.
I thought you were calling from your cell phone.
She was, but couldn't, and then went in there to try, but she couldn't communicate or give any info to the dispatcher.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought she was still on her cell
Yeah,
phone.
no, I went, if I was on my cell phone, then I could stand here and relay what actually was going on, if it was getting worse, get better, what the problems was, ask questions, like just medical questions that they're asking me, and I have no idea. So, I'm just saying, at this day and age, to not be able to call 911 when you're having a room full of seniors at a function in the middle of town, in the town offices, I can't even say how many things are wrong with that scenario. But that's what happened. Luckily, everything ended well. The EMTs showed up, Taylor and Jeremy showed up very quickly, and right behind them was Officer Bergeron Blood. And they handled the whole situation, and everything ended well, but that's not the point. It could have not very easily went a whole different path. Because the moments that I'm trying to call 911 were sitting there doing nothing. And, not being able to answer questions or anything. So, so that's a whole snafu I think we need to desperately deal with. Because the town Wi-Fi and the whole landline, everything else is cell tower. It's just such a disaster.
I mean, can you put a landline like in this room?
Well, there's 3, but they're
locked off. I'm talking about in this room.
Well,
if it's being used for the public.
But if it's broken.
I'm just
I know. The wires need upgrading. There's this whole building needs to be burnt down to the ground and start over, okay? In my personal opinion. But I don't want to pay the tax money to fix it, just like half the other people, so we're stuck in this lovely conundrum of keep throwing good money after bad to fix problems.
All right. So anyway, moving along.
Okay.
But still, we have an issue that we has reared its ugly head again.
Yep.
Which is multi-tiered here. Has to do with cell phone service. Has to do with the confusion confusion of small town offices that only have part-time employees and all that sort of stuff that many towns sort of deal with. So, anyway, to sort of move things along announcements-wise, what else you got?
I got other stuff. Okay, let's talk about our lovely tree lighting that we had. I'd like to thank Sanda from Parks for making sure the tree was lit, and also for baking a whole bunch of cookies. I'd like to thank the DPW for getting the menorah up there, the Greens for singing, and the seniors for singing, because I can't carry a tune, like cats would be crying somewhere. And the police and Jeff for trying to keep people out of the deer while we were having that, and Dan for emceeing it. But we had the town tree lighting ceremony, which I thought went off halfway decent, minus a few unplugged trees when we plugged them in due to kids running. But other than that, everything went well. Everyone sang. They loved your cookies. They all had a grand time. There was a good amount of people that showed up.
It's funny, just to jump in real quick, it was our sort of seventh one, and it's always the same, where they're at like 10 of, there's 10 people, and we're like, oh.
Yeah.
At 2 of, there's like 18 people, and then at 10 past, or whatever it starts, there's 50 to 60 people just sort of hanging around. It's always the same.
Yeah, that's why I was like 5 to 5:30 we'll sing.
Yeah,
and that gives everybody a chance to show up when they
and we
are
sang
getting
like
ready.
15 songs.
Yeah.
So you had plenty of time to get there during the 30
get there.
songs.
But yeah, there had to be at least 50 people there, if not more.
Yeah, I think there was.
I think there was probably more than that. But everyone seemed to enjoy it and had a grand time. So thank you for everyone that put their 2 cents into getting that together and making that happen.
And thank you.
Yes. Thank you also for the seniors to get the menorah up before our light fight, and also Sanda for getting the corner done over in Clark's Corner, and the Lions for getting the gazebo ready, because the light fight's starting. That's our next announcement.
Okay.
Light fight's starting this Friday. If you haven't got your entry form in and you do want to enter, I'm still taking them till tomorrow. You can either message me, I'll come figure out a way to either get it, or you can drop it off in the overnight box. I got a few people I gotta pick up theirs tomorrow along my path, but the overnight drop box, if you don't get into the town offices tomorrow, but I'm still taking them till tomorrow. Please don't message me for the map. It will be out Thursday. I will not have it together before Thursday. Or the list. I won't have it together till Thursday. But we're gonna start on Friday. You will be able to get paper maps down at One Stop, the gas station. They will have paper maps. We'll have an online link, and we'll have a list online as well. So yes, get ready for that, because that means traffic jams on the back roads for the next 3 weekends. So you're welcome, Hubbardston. And that's all I got for right now.
All right, great. Thank you. So, so you guys you just came in, and you missed open session just barely, but we're gonna not subject you to the rest of the meeting. So we're gonna peel back into open session for a moment if you're interested in speaking to open session. So we were just on to Roman numeral 3, which is announcements, but I'm gonna sort of peel back into open session. Are you here for open session?
I guess so, if that's where you kinda wanna stick us.
Is that where you wanna, David, is there another spot that you wanted to do this, or it should be?
No, let's tear into it.
Yeah, might as well. So, okay, so you guys are here for open session. If you could just sort of state your name, and we can go from there.
Okay.
Come on up if you want, or stay there, it's up to you.
Well,
Go in the front, I'll be right here.
sure. Hi, my name is Nick Beauregard.
You can have a seat, Nick, probably be
Sure.
wherever you want, but.
I'm a former employee of Hubbardston Highway Department.
Yep, no, we know you, so I just wanted, for people who are sort of looking on to, know who you are. That was good enough.
Yeah, I've looked forward to a reason as to why I'm no longer part of the team.
Yep.
And I've moved on. I just wanted to know what due diligence occurred in whatever exit interview I was not part of.
Okay, that's a weird way to phrase a question.
I think the first part of the question is, what due diligence was done by the board into looking into the termination?
Sure, so David, I'm not sure, can I just so we're all on the same page here, so any correspondence that you guys have had, could you just sort of outline that, any calls or anything like that?
Certainly. So, this employment issue was brought to my attention sometime in August. I talked to Travis Brown, the DPW director. We called town council and were able to put together a chronology of events that described absenteeism and other issues of work performance. I terminated Mr. Beauregard in late August, and followed up with a conversation with him after his appearance in front of the select board, I wanna say 2 Thursdays ago.
Okay. Okay, and did you receive any information, during that conversation, or what?
No reasons as to why,
Okay.
I was terminated. In regards to any absenteeism, if there was any absenteeism, it was followed up with a doctor's note.
Okay.
And during said absenteeism, I acquired, Class B CDL, as a requirement in my written agreement.
Okay, well, so what we have is what David just said, so it was sent to us, a chronology, of events. I'll first start with this, there are, certain dates that are on here, and I'm just gonna read the dates first and we can go into some detail, cause, you deserve it. But these are 2021, January 7th, June 16th, June 17th to July 7th, July 7th, July 8th, July 11th, July 12th, July 13th, July 19th, July 20, July 21, July 27, July 31st, August 2nd to 8th, August 9th, August 11th, August 13th to 26th, and August 26th. So this is, just to let you know, this was our due diligence, is we went through a detailed review. This includes like when we went to legal review, this includes all of this. So I just want you to know, when I sent you an email the other day and said we did a thorough vetting of the situation, we did. So that was 12 to 20 different dates that are relevant to your situation that we looked into and got feedback from different parties on. So, proceeding, I guess, David, I wanna defer to you real quick. So we're in open session here,
Yes.
right? So I know I sent you so what I sent you, just to make sure you understood, again, is I sent you an excerpt from you probably understood that, that's not how I speak. An excerpt from the open meeting law, which basically says things you can and can't do in open session.
Correct.
And that has to do with, any sort of accusations or complaints or all that sort of thing about town employees, that can't happen in open session. So those sorts of
Sure.
things, need to happen in executive session, and there's certain rules that have to be followed to be able to get to that point.
Of course.
So you understood, okay, just to make sure you understand that. Anyway, sort of going back, sorry, I asked you for a question, then I jumped right in and answered it.
That's right.
Okay. But do you see anything else in the way of me sort of going through these items that were on that chronology?
The only thing that I didn't touch upon is that Mr. Beauregard was a probationary employee under the collective bargaining agreement, and it was within that probationary period that I terminated him.
Okay.
And cited in my letter to him the clause about probationary employees.
Okay. So, just so we're all clear, the probationary period is 60 days?
1 year.
It's 1 year, okay. Sorry.
Long.
So it's a long time. So, and within, what are the rights of the town or the whatnot within that probationary period?
The town may exercise its authority under the Mass General laws, as well as the collective bargaining agreement, particularly having to do with management rights. That an employee who is on a probationary status is not part of the collective bargaining unit, and therefore is an employee at will.
Okay, so an employee at will.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay, so we all understand what that means. Okay. All right, so we happen, just because, might as well state it, so we happen to have our DPW director here. We've asked him here not for this reason, actually. We asked him
Right.
here because we're doing a update on winter operations, so you're welcome for asking you and then having it snow on you, by the way. Anyway, so, but anyway, the point is not to have Travis answer any questions direct
No.
here, but I'm gonna go through some things here, okay?
Sure.
If anyone wants to stop me or speak, please raise your hand and I'll call upon you.
Are you gonna go to a different topic than the absences?
I'm gonna go through everything I have here on the chronology.
Okay.
So just,
I just had a question about the absences, so the absences are in two parts, so one was sick time, where he actually provided doctor's notes, and then the other absences were the 3 weeks of training he attended.
Yep.
Are we holding those 3 weeks of training against him?
well, we're not holding anything specific against, we're going through the entire chronology here, I think it's the
Okay.
best way I can answer that. Cause I don't know all the details without going through them again as well, I'm not sure which was when and all that sort of stuff,
Okay.
so just sort of hear me out, this is unscripted,
Sure,
okay?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so January 7th, 2021, date of hire, for Mr. Beauregard as a temporary full-time laborer truck driver as a temporary replacement for another DPW employee on medical leave. The injured employee returned to work after 2 weeks and Mr. Beauregard's position was not continued. If anyone wants me to repeat anything, please don't hesitate either, cause sometimes I speak fast. June 16th, 2021 again. Date of hire for Mr. Nicholas Beauregard as a permanent full-time laborer truck driver. June 17th to July 7th, this is just a range of time, so that's about 3 weeks. Mr. Beauregard's performance did not meet expectations. Given an assignment of patching holes in Thompson Road, work was left unfinished, had to be directed to return to the site and complete the assignment. Given an assignment of patching holes on Main Street, work was left unfinished, had to be directed to return to the site and complete the assignments. For assignments given, it required a lot of supervision and lacked initiative, was able to work independently, which is a requirement of the job description. July 7th, Mr. Beauregard consults with a doctor by phone and leaves work at noon. So was this one of the, I guess I'll just ask, was this one of the times, of the absences? Just wanted to sort of bring it up there.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. July 8th, Mr. Beauregard, informs the DPW director about a CDL test on Monday, July 8th. And there's some other detail here, which we can sort of send you, I don't wanna read everything that's on here. Mr. Brown, offers to allow him work in the morning, and Mr. Beauregard agrees. July 8th to present, Mr. Beauregard, having no accrued leave, is placed on unpaid status. July 11th, Mr. Beauregard texted Mr. Brown, that he's ill, won't be able to come to work on 7/12. I think that was one of the other dates that you were out?
Only out once.
Okay. That was July 12th. July 13th, Mr. Beauregard texted Mr. Brown, stated if he continued to feel unwell, and asked if Mr. Brown has received a doctor's note, and he had not. So, anyway, not looking up like it's some moment, I'm just basically stating, looking at your reaction for any of this to see if there's anything you wanna
I
speak to.
acquired another doctor's note. I guess it didn't reach him on his end.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. July 19th, Mr. Beauregard shows up to work. Mr. Beauregard texts Mr. Brown a doctor's note. DPW Director Brown informs Mr. Beauregard that the doctor's note is not specific about Mr. Beauregard's ability to return to work. Mr. Beauregard was sent home and asked for a doctor's note addressing Mr. Beauregard's fitness to return to work. So the next day, July 20th, no communication from Mr. Beauregard. July 21st, 2 days later, Mr. Beauregard texts Mr. Brown that he has a doctor's appointment later that day, and that he has a Class B license test for 7/23. So I guess there was another day or two in there that there wasn't any communication. I'm just, reading this like you're hearing it here. So anyway. Stated that CDL class starts on 7/26, and he had a Mass DOT physical on 7/26. July 27th, the day after that Mass DOT physical, Mr. Beauregard texts Mr. Brown that he obtained his Class B permit. That CDL class is extended to August 13th. Mr. Beauregard then sends Mr. Brown a doctor's note stating that Mr. Beauregard may return to work on 7/26 without restriction, with the understanding that the first week of work will consist of a physical on Monday, and the remainder of the week would be devoted to CDL training. Okay. July 31st, the time frame outlined in the doctor's note for Mr. Beauregard's return to work is completed. So that's just basically, again, we did a thorough chronology of all this. August 2nd to the 8th, another sort of time frame duration. Mr. Beauregard does not return to work, and no communication from Mr. Beauregard.
That does not make sense.
Okay.
After the test I passed first time.
Well,
And
A2,
then-
you were still in class. Didn't your doctor's note cover you for the entire 3 weeks of class?
It did for the entire duration.
The entire 3 weeks, I
Or I
thought.
was sick the entire time I took the test. but did so.
I'm sorry, but what?
So we might have to look at that note, but it,
Yeah.
that doctor's note that's supposed to be for, his first week of class, 7/26 to whatever the end date was supposed to cover him for the entire 3 weeks of the class, and not have an end date on it. Not have an end date of just that week.
Okay.
So that's all I'm saying.
Okay, so August 9th, I guess that was what's stated here after several days of no communication from the 2nd to the 8th, August 9th. There was communication with Mr. Beauregard texting Mr. Brown that new requirements for obtaining a CDL have changed, causing him inconvenience and delay. So the new CDL requirements do not take effect until February of 2022. So I'm not exactly sure what all that means. Do you?
There used to be opportunities available where you could take training on weekends instead of during weekdays. There's class time requirements during the week now. You're not allowed to have private lessons.
Okay, so what is the new CDL requirements do not take effect until February of 2022?
Those are the new requirements that say after February the 7th or something like that. You cannot have weekend sessions, private instruction.
But how does that apply
It
to
would be
this?
2021, not 2022.
All brackets were full. There were none available.
Okay, maybe I'm speaking around the wrong thing. I'm reading 2022, but it should be 2021.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that the regulation must have changed in 2021, cause he was gonna do weekend classes, but then they obviously changed that.
They did not
And
offer
they're not
them.
offering them, and they weren't
Not through
offering,
any institution.
they weren't offering, normally you can take private classes and pay out of pocket, like for an extra. They stopped doing that, I think it was because of COVID, I'm not really sure.
Class time requirement.
So you have to be in class
Okay.
during the week.
Yep.
So it's a 4 or 5 hour classroom time that's nowhere around here.
It's, yeah,
Okay.
Taunton.
So at that point, so that was the August 9th. So August 11th, Mr. Nixon became involved. Was developing this chronology of events with above, and then consulted with town council, correct? And that legal review went on because all legal reviews go on for a week and a half to 2 weeks, and that's when that happened. And then August 26th was when Mr. Nixon sent the letter terminating Mr. Beauregard as per the provisions of the collective bargaining agreement, effective immediately then. So this is the due diligence we did. So I guess hearing that, because that was your question, as you stated it when you sat down, was what due diligence did you do? That's what we did.
Okay.
So I guess we're still sort of talking here. So what's next?
Well, I've moved on. It's just I knew that there was always a need for a truck driver here, and that's why I became a truck driver, just for this town. And I'm just thinking about like the whole ethics of it all, and nothing in life is convenient. Neither was that training, and it was quite an interruption in my career path, and apparently it was part of the cause of why I'm not here. So, I mean, I wasn't given a reason, and I wasn't given a proper exit interview. So it was good to hear the chronology, because I haven't heard any of it until now.
Okay.
And that the reasons may not be valid, but at least I got to hear them.
Okay. So, okay. Well, I understand.
Because I took that CDL class sick
Okay.
to get that license for this
To
town,
keep the job.
because it was part of the written agreement that I had 6 months to obtain.
Okay. Well,
So I was just questioning the whole process, and maybe the ethics behind it, because I would want this town to fight for me like I fight for it. That's all.
I think that what we're just asking for is to look at the bigger picture here. If you're gonna require a license that costs thousands of dollars and then terminate someone 2 weeks after they get it, doesn't make the town look very favorable.
I didn't
how's-
even have an opportunity to earn that money back.
Yeah, and, I've been in this town, my family owns a house in this town, we've been here for over 20 years, and I've never, I was surprised that he was treated that way. Without an exit interview, to maybe go over some of these things. He never got written up. He never was pulled in for some coaching, never got a training plan or a training, I don't know what the
No
town's
performance
policies are,
improvement
but.
plan, no write-ups, not tardy,
Bless you.
Thank you.
so,
So,
Yeah.
I think that maybe going forward, especially when you hire a town resident, you might wanna be more sensitive about what happens. And we agree that you're an employee at will, but, you know, an exit interview is probably a good way to hear both sides of what's going on and then make a decision, versus make a decision and then listen. It's just my opinion, you know?
I was chosen for the position, it was
Yeah.
offered to me.
He was solicited for
I
this
dropped
job.
everything and went for it. So,
You know, and if you had known that you were gonna terminate him before he took the class, that would have been nice, to terminate him before we spent thousands of dollars getting the license,
$5,200.
you know? Like, I'm not saying anything illegal was done here, but I'm just saying, look at it from a town resident's point of view. You know, we live here, we wanna work here, we wanna support the town, and kinda got a slap in the face, you know? So.
Okay, well, you know, sorry you guys feel that way.
Well, and I think what made it worse is then the job was posted for, I think the sign just came down yesterday, or today. So, you know, how horrible of an employee was he that you go for 2 months without him, when he then updated his hydraulics license, he has the license that you want, and, you know, he got sick. He got sick, I admit, for the first part of his second time he was employed. That was never diagnosed. They thought it was a Lyme type thing, like a tick bite, and they were never able to diagnose it, and it kinda just had to run its course. So it really sucked for him, cause nobody, you know, he wanted to work, and then he was still sick with it when he took the class. So, you know, like I said, just asking for, think about how this affects people. When you make a requirement, and then, well, too bad you got it, see you later, you know? No training plan, no goals, no objectives, nothing. If he did some potholes wrong, there was no training. We didn't even hear that they were done wrong until after he was terminated,
correct.
you know? Sounds like an easy thing, right? Go fill some potholes or go fill some whatever. I don't know how to do it. I've never been trained how to do it. I don't think, you know,
Hard
he's
path
never worked
performs
for a town
differently.
before, never had to do that, so if that was something he needed extra training on, maybe that should have be done prior before you just sent him out and said, go do it. But there was never any on-site training. Or even a written type of plan.
At this point, if this is gonna keep going on, I think it needs
Sorry.
to go in an executive session or something, cause it's starting to get a
Okay.
little,
No, it's good, we're just about.
okay,
It's
I'm
long in the
just,
tooth.
I'm
It's-
just saying.
Yep.
Yeah, I get, we're all set.
You know, we're residents and we wanna be heard.
I get that, I understand that, but it's just coming to the point where it's just kind of, there's always two sides to the story and we're only hearing one.
I know,
And
we're
it's
just about done.
Yeah, kinda dogpiling on.
No, I think we heard that there was some
Yep.
absences and things there, but like I said, you might have gotten the whole story if there was an exit interview, instead of hearing it now in pieces. So,
Okay.
that's
Well,
really all.
the decision's been made.
Yep.
And I've moved on.
Yep.
And I'm glad I got the reasons, thank you,
Alright, well,
Mhm.
sorry it took so long.
That's okay.
Thanks for coming in again.
No, thank you.
appreciate you,
Alright,
thank you.
alright, thanks.
Do you wanna stay? You wanna stay?
Okay, we are going to
Thank
move
you.
on. Alright, bye guys.
you.
See you, Nick. On to our next item, which is Roman numeral 4, which is minutes and consent agenda. Tony, who's not able to be here tonight, did state that the minutes aren't ready, so we're gonna, exclude that from the consent agenda.
Can I interrupt Dan for
Sure.
a sec? Damon sent an email, I'm not sure who's looking at this, but he can't get into the online meeting. Are we broadcasting online? Was that sent out?
I can check the connection to the Zoom.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, 'cause if no one's opened it up, then he's just trying to get in. Nobody's home.
I'm gonna check real quick. I got invited to sing with the singers
Oh,
next
did you?
Tuesday, yeah.
Lovely. I think you should. I think you should break out in song in the meeting, like we talked about, you know, just when in doubt, just break out in song.
I'm having trouble to do the text.
It's broken. It's broken. It's all broken.
Did you get on, Tim?
I didn't.
Do you wanna do the permits?
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll do some stuff while you take a look at that. So, we're on minutes and consent agenda. Items on there. Once again, minutes we're gonna exclude because they're not ready. We've got permits for approval for Ladybug Farm, AAA Today, Hubtown Diner, Hubbardson Rod and Gun, and Pizza Palace, and we've got a signature for an encroachment license. It does state on here that the Hubtown Diner and Pizza Palace are contingent upon building inspections sign off. So, I guess we'll proceed as we normally do. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
A motion to accept the consent agenda with discussion.
Okay.
Second that.
Okay, second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, just a quick question. David, on the Hubbardson Rod and Gun Club license for the alcohol one, I saw that they had crossed out the manager who was listed and wrote a different manager. Was there a change of manager application that was done previously?
I've not seen that change of manager, so we need to follow up with them.
Okay. So it just needs to be approved with the current manager as stated, not the adjusted one.
Right.
Which one? So Linda, the bar manager? I was looking at that today. I'm just trying to remember what you mean.
Yeah, so it's on the retail license renewal. They have here on the ABCC's record, Stephen R., some irrepronounceable version of a name
Yeah.
at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And they crossed out and have a Linda L. Lamontagne.
Yeah, she signed everything else as well.
But if they never filed for a change of license, a change of manager with the ABCC that would come through our board first, she can't change it over. They can't just change the manager without alcohol or ABCC approval and our approval.
Okay, I
Pretty
think
sure
Stephen's
been gone for a while.
been the manager before. So I wonder if somebody just put the wrong one on originally.
They could have. Do you ever remember having a change of manager application come through?
No, I don't remember ever him. So I remember
Oh.
her name on there. That's why I said her name. So I
Okay. Sometimes they screw up and they don't write the right one, but other times what often happens is a lot of licensees don't realize that they have to go through a simple process of doing query and a couple other documents to the ABCC, so they just change it.
Yeah.
He's been.
I once caught one about 15 years later, so it does
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, 'cause he's been gone for a while.
yeah.
Yeah, we can circle around and get that.
We'll check that, but I think is there any further discussion?
Nope, that's the only thing that came stuck out at me.
Alright, so you made the motion. Do you wanna amend your motion to reflect any contingent item on that?
I would just say, I guess I would amend it to say that, as far as the license, the alcohol license for Hubbardson Rod and Gun Club, it'd be contingent upon David finding out about the manager name and making any adjustments as required.
I'll still second that.
Okay, sounds good. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous?
Alright, I need a pen. Give me a
Sounds
pen.
good, thank you. Alright, yeah, we'll be signing. We're gonna try Trav, give us a second sign so we can give you full attention.
Now they're all out of order. You're welcome. Sorry.
We also approved the encroachment license, right?
Yep.
Do we have that to sign?
Encroachment?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
District 2, right? Yeah, 2 Maple Ave. What is that? 3 down?
I think it's 5.
5?
Nice.
Is it?
What?
How many licenses, how many encroachments have we?
I'd have to, how many are there total?
No, I know there was like
How many have
50
we
something.
signed? I think it's Kate's question.
3, I remember 3 for sure.
That's what I'm calculating.
Yeah, it was GFA, Lou, that one. I feel like it was,
Post office, right?
yeah, post office 4.
Tony is putting together a, or she, if she didn't already, sort of an organized of each of the properties.
Yeah, so like check off, this one signed, this one signed.
That's right.
What do we still need to sign? Goodness.
Okay.
Alright, that's done.
Alright, sounds good. So we are at the new business. We've got Travis Brown here, the DPW director, to give us sort of an annual update on the winter operations preparedness. I don't know, Trav, you wanna just sort of lead us off, and you've done this before?
Sure.
Come on up.
Thank you.
On the back also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
year, we got rid of our '06 F450 and updated with the '21 F550, which we actually get it with a 3 to 4 yard spreader in it, which will help with treating this parking lot, school parking lot, and Prentice Hill, some areas where a small truck is needed to plow, and we never had a spreader in the back of them, so the person's area that was in would have to come and treat the parking lot afterwards. So this is much more efficient.
Does the fire department do any of this anymore?
At first they would help, Jeremy would do it, and we haven't seen much of them. Will they help us this year? It'd be nice to at least keep the police open here in the Slade building, because especially if it's coming down 1 to 2 inches an hour,
Right.
it's hard for us to really come in here. We have a hard enough time with the roads.
Yeah.
But I was gonna talk with Bob about that anyways, and I believe that was part of their new truck anyway, was that they were gonna help keep stuff open for us, so.
But relative to equipment, everything else looks like it's in, you've had time to get it all ready and,
Yes, everything's been, including the brand new truck, before it actually went out, it was fully undercoated. All the body panels inside out were undercoated, plow frame, everything. All the trucks went through again, touched up areas that we needed to with the undercoat. Everything was redone there also.
so I think I've asked this before too, but are we at a point now where we don't have to pre-order oddball parts because it takes so long to get them because we've got such old stuff, or do you still have to do that versus just reacting and sort of ordering normal stuff? You know, I guess what's your feeling on that?
We have still the '04 Mac. Last year we spent $8,000 just to rebuild one side of the body on it because it ripped itself apart. It's a rusted mess.
Yeah.
So the mechanic had spent a lot of time. We chipped away at a lot of the rust that was under it, trying to stop it from rusting any more than what it is. Hub Equipment rebuilt one side of it for us. We just put a gearbox in it to drive the chain. It's somewhat of a money pit. I believe it's on the docket for next year anyways, and it's our last standard vehicle, which is hard to come by to find someone to drive it. So I'll be glad to see it go. Other than that, I mean, we have the '09 Sterling is the other one. That one is, because it's a Sterling and they don't make them anymore, it's hard to get parts for. So fortunately it's been decent for us, and we've just been doing the upkeep with it and to move it along, obviously, to get it to the point of where it is on a list to replace. All our trucks are calibrated every year. We all have, except for the '04 Mac, have electronic spreaders in them, so that helps calibrate how much we put down on the ground at the speeds that we go, because they're all speed related. That has cut back on our use of salt and how much chemical we actually put on the ground.
And the full crew is,
Right now we have a full crew.
no, sorry, the full crew is, up to date or, current on the calibration techniques or
Yeah.
levels it's supposed to be at, or whatever you wanna say?
Other than the two new team players that I have here. One of them's out with surgery since I got back from vacation, which has been like 2 months. So he had surgery, last I heard was day before Thanksgiving, so I'm looking at probably another 6 weeks before I see him. But himself, and we have a new team player, which his name is Langille. I drove around today with him, his route, and explained where to push snow, what we're looking for, going over the spreader controls, and it'd be another day of that also, trying to get him familiar with it. That, a lot of that is, I can explain so much to the point of where a lot of it's just seat time and knowing, cause there's no textbook storm, so it's knowing when to put it down, what works, when it works, not to put it down, and when to plow, when to put it down, so the material. So, everyone has been here and has used them other than the two of them, so, we're moving forward. This year, we brought on brine. We have a truck to put it down on the roads. Prior to it depends on when you put it down. So, in other words, it'll say like, if we have a storm coming in, say Saturday, and it's not gonna rain anywhere in between, that we could put it down up to a week prior to have the roads pre-treated, and when something happens, it activates the brine and actually pre-treats the road. So I can have a guy or a team player go out there and treat the roads in one day, and then we're not rushing around to get in here to treat the roads cause it's snowing or it's sleeting, or we had a fog come through and it black iced the roads, you know, so that's a learning curve for everybody now to put that down. It's first year, so, but it does have a lot of benefits to it. I did actually put brine tanks on my truck, and I'm looking to wet the salt, and by doing that, I put out less salt and a quicker reaction time on the salt because it's wetted.
When, just now?
I haven't done it this one because it wasn't worth putting it out for that.
So Travis, how does that, you say you got approximately 6,000 gallons of brine.
Yep.
How does that work? You don't have that.
Yeah,
It's
we
not
have
liquid
tanks.
in the building. Oh, you do have tanks?
We have two 3,000 gallon external tanks outside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were all, I bought them last year. We had the meeting and I paid to do that. I bought all the pumps and the hoses and the fittings and everything.
Nice.
I had put that together outside, had the electrician come and hook that all up outside, include exterior lighting so it was lit up when we're out there filling. So the tank was also part of that. We put on the spray truck, which was 1,050 gallon tank that came with a full electronic spray system and everything like that went off your speed. So that's an efficient spray system we had got there that was used. It wasn't new. So
So you just pull up to the tanks and fill up the trucks?
Yeah.
You're on your way?
yeah, we have quick fittings to, we first obviously tried it and we had a handle and it was gonna take forever, so now we actually have quick fittings to just hook the hose to it, click it, turn it on, and obviously pay attention to the truck and when it's full. But I
Nice.
put the tanks on my truck now to try it in 68 to see how it is, so that way I can better explain to people going forward so they understand and when and when not to use it. Brine is good right around 25 degrees, up to 25 degrees, cause it's just straight salt. What's nice about it is that we can add like a mag to it, which isn't as much mag as we use on our standard salt, but it will bring it down to temperatures that could be in the negative digits that would help us also. So like I said, with using just the straight brine that we're using now, it still limits us to what we use with that. We use a treated salt that has mag in it that brings it down to -6. But using the brine with the salt, I put out, so in other words, give you an example. So if I put out 250 per lane mile, which we do, of regular rock treated salt,
250 what?
pounds per lane mile. And if I add brine, which is at 23.3 pounds, that's liquid and brine, but salt brine itself is 23.3 pounds.
Yep.
And I spray my salt, I'm not spraying it to my 250 per lane mile salt. I knock it down to like 200, so I'm taking over 25 pounds of sodium and mag off the road, and I'm putting down less to have a better reaction time.
Mhm.
So I'm saving on salt, which is another thing I would bring up is salt went up $14.68 extra on top of what we paid last year per ton. So it's not cheap. We paid $60.17 last year, we're paying $74.85 this
Hey,
year.
here's a dumb question for someone who doesn't really fully understand it all. So brine, we haven't used brine before.
Nope.
So, if I'm walking my dog, am
Mhm.
I gonna get sprayed with brine? Like, how does it spray out of the, is it just
'Cause I
drop
have-
straight down, or like, how does that?
On our brine truck that we have, and then you've probably seen them in cities, you have those pencil lines going down the road.
Yes.
That was brine applied by this town, and they do that because you can have it down and it reacts when it needs it. And you're putting down, it's actually cost effective. It would be even more cost effective if we had town water, because we don't have to pay someone to bring it to us.
Yep.
We'd only have to supply the salt. And I had done a lot of research on this. Westminster started some of it last year.
Yeah, I remember you
And
talking
they've
about
gone through the classes as long as I have also, and they've also have a new super over there. He's more of a foreman. Kevin came from Wellesley, and he was their chemist over there, and he does a lot with organics. So, like anything, I try to take it baby steps because we only have so much money. Organics cost more, but it also takes the chlorides and the salt out of it.
the
So
things
then-
that Wellesley doesn't want in there.
So that's why they went organic. They went organic. So organics work very well.
Yeah.
But they're just expensive. So I'm confiding and they're confiding in us too, because they're still in the learning process, even though Kevin's done it, the whole crew over there hasn't, so we go back and forth. I call them and I ask them different things, how, but they also said that it's a lot of trial and error. Is you're trying it on certain things to see if it worked well there, and then see it, and they will work well here. It depends on temperature is the big thing you have to watch.
Yeah.
Because if you have a colder temperature and you spray brine now, I could just make the road ice. So you gotta watch what you do. But what happens also is that I'm spraying treated salt. So I'm spraying a mag chloride salt that I'm putting down, but I'm still putting down less, but I'm still getting my chloride, my mag in there with it. So this year's a good trial experience. Kinda excited for it, we all have wells, and whatever we can do to sit there and not have it go into the wells, then, the better off we are.
So you said you can pre-treat the roads with this brine stuff if a storm's coming in 4 or 5 days and the weather's what is it, is it gonna be visible? Are people gonna see it on the road and wondering what they're driving over?
No, you're gonna see white pencil lines. It's all it is that you put it down,
Yeah.
and then the moisture evaporates from it and the salt stays to the road.
Oh.
So then once moisture hits it again, it becomes a brine again and then spreads out.
You haven't been stuck behind the trucks on Route 2 when they're spraying that stuff down?
Sometimes they're not
Driving
spreading
back.
brine, they're
You can't
spreading
go 12
mag.
miles an hour on Route 2. I think we already talked about that.
What's honestly, with our spray truck, you can literally go down 40 miles an hour down Route 68 and 62 and spray the brine down, and it's fully effective, and it'll stay right where it is, because the pencils put it straight down on the ground like that, and it's not a spray, it's
Okay.
pencils. So then, and it's only this far off the ground.
Yep.
So you can literally go 40 miles an hour and put this down, and it's fully effective.
Alright, nice.
So then our salt shed was full until just last weekend. Where our 3-to-1 lean-to with the 3-to-1 sand is full. We have obviously some salt for the sleigh building, which we brought everything up today. And we still have 6,000 gallons of brine. We filled up the spray truck and my tanks are full, so we haven't used it yet. Material projections was last year was approximately about 2,000 ton of salt. Not all of that was really used because we have it in the shed. This is what
treated salt?
Yeah, mag salt, we've always used, but we tried before, if I had another area where I could actually store straight salt, it would be, I think, beneficial for the town, for the fact that on the warmer times, like now, we could just use straight salt, which is not as costly as mag treated salt. And then once it got really cold, and in those temperatures where standard rock salt doesn't work, you could use the mag treated on it. So maybe something for the future to look in, that we have somewhere else just to store regular rock salt itself.
I think you should go after a grant.
I think we should talk to Monty Tech.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Build me a,
Boom.
build me a hut. I gotta find, well, I have somewhat of a connection there still, so I have to talk to them again. This whole COVID thing's really messed things up, so. This year I actually cut back on our quantities, cause last year, just to meet my minimum, I stuffed the salt shed with every little inch that I had. So this time, I did that, and I still have money. I'm hoping this year everything works out well, even though it went up almost 15 a ton, that everything will work out well.
So, hey, can you explain, and we ask this every year, but just so we're on the same page, so the on-call policy and the minimum hours paid for the crew, or, you know, the guys or whoever comes in to do that, how's that work again?
So, depending on what's needed, you have an on-call person, they have they get paid $100 that week for just being on call.
And they're called by
Dispatch.
dispatch.
So like, if PD is driving around and the roads here start getting bad, they'll call dispatch and ask them. A lot of times they call me.
Yep.
And then I'll say, yeah, just call dispatch and have them come in. Sometimes they call just the person on call, dispatch they'll come in and assess it to see if we need it, if it's just treating certain areas,
Yep.
because we don't need everybody in. But when that does, and we have to treat everywhere, everybody comes in, it's a minimum of 4 hours on that, and to treat the town once, really, is like 5 guys, they're done in like 3.5 hours to treat the whole town. By doing the brine, also, will help with some of these situations if we look far enough ahead. Obviously, stuff happens, like we weren't supposed to get as much as we did this go around,
Yeah,
but we
that's what I was
couldn't have
thinking.
used brine anyways, cause it rained prior to, so it
Okay.
would've washed that off. So that's where you don't use brine, you don't use it when it's raining, it just washes away.
Mhm.
So, it has a cost effectiveness to it, and I'm eager to really get it down pat to where a lot of our trucks have the systems on them. Prior to me being here, they had used, I believe, calcium in them. So there's a couple other trucks that do still have wetting systems on them. So that's in our benefit. We just gotta get them running again.
Back to the on-call question real quick. So you have a couple of new employees.
Mm-hmm.
Would they be on call too?
They wait a month,
Okay.
depending on how comfortable they are with the area. Usually I give them a month because they've been around then,
Yeah.
between patching or plowing or doing work on the roads, and they can see that every truck has got their route on it highlighted with the names of all the roads. So literally a map. I
Yep.
just did one for Zach today.
Okay.
And I drove it with him and showed him, because where there's tar then goes to dirt. I say, there's no salt whatsoever on the dirts. It stops here at the tar.
Yep.
Cause usually after the storm, if they need it, we go back and get 3-to-1 sand, and then we treat all the dirt roads. But I don't put anyone that doesn't understand where they need to be, especially that type of situation, to
Yeah.
come in here, to take care of that. Let's see here. Roads, 16, yeah, so right now, we have, a full crew, but we're down one because he's out at surgery, so we do have all our part-timer drivers, and our subcontractor, Jim Dixon, he's plows Mile Road and Plumtree for us.
What about the Streeter Road?
We plow, that's part of,
Oh, I know.
Right.
So that's no change from the way it's always been?
meaning,
Just because of it becoming the whole thing we went through for a few years for it to be recognized as a town road and all that stuff?
I get calls of people flying up and down the roads now that we grade it, and we've
Okay.
added material, so,
Okay.
I mean, it's really not my department,
Okay.
They like the job. We get people that call and love how the road is now and so on and so forth, but I get calls also for how fast FedEx and UPS and fly up and down the road, so.
You know, one thing you which has been very beneficial for us, which I assume you'll continue to do, is, you know, you keep a log of each event, right? And what the details of that event are, and it's, you know, a good way to sort of track how things are going. It lets us know too, cause it may feel like it's not that, you know, difficult of a winter, but if there's 18 events because you had to come because it, you know, it snowed a little bit and then it warmed up and then that melted and it refroze on, you know, that sort of thing. So those sorts of events, I assume that's the sort of thing you'll continue to keep.
Anytime we come in, yeah, every year, I have it, I just change the date at the top to FY 22,
Yep.
23. But I have that every time, even when people get called in, they tell me, and it's written in there.
Yep.
What we did, what's nice about the electronic spreaders is that it tells me how long it was on, how many miles it did, and how much product it put out. So that's how I know each storm, how much we put out on the roads.
Okay. One more about, so we have a different school year than we had last year, just because of COVID and all that. So do you, just to sort of go through the communication with, the superintendent or the superintendent's office or wherever, can you just, you know, remind us how that works?
Sheila usually calls me during the night,
Yeah.
or the first thing in the morning, because she needs to know whether or not to send the buses out or have delays, so, she'll call me and I'll let her know the status of how we look in Hubbardston. There's been times when we've been good and other towns haven't, they've called it off.
Yep.
So, but we've always had great communication there. And then Ryan, it'll be David now, he'll ask to see, you know, how we are, and so between the phone or email, it's usually by phone, I have communications with everybody.
Okay, just don't do it from inside this building, cause you don't have good service.
Yes, so, anyways, I mean, I believe that's pretty much it. I mean, all our equipment is up to snuff, and it's working well, and, just looking to get the rest of our crew in there. If somebody knows of somebody, I'd like, I've asked some people, but I would like one to sit in the truck with, my new guy. That way I could take the mechanic and put him on a route right now, cause usually I'll put the mechanic in there, cause he's obviously plowed and stuff with us. But by doing that, this go around, it leaves me Williamsville not plowed. So, I have some calls out, but if anybody knows, it'll be like a night or two, depending on, you know, whether or not how long he needs someone to be with him, that he feels comfortable. And, he's a quick learner, it seems to be, that I've seen so far, so.
Call Jamie Haddad.
Yeah, right, should.
You should.
Someone to sit in the truck and just understand it, you just, you know, I explain to him where to push it and stuff, but if someone's plowed before and understands it, it's totally different when the snow's coming down and cars are coming at you, so, I just need someone there that would help out a lot. I think we talked, maybe if I could find somebody to do a full-time temp to come in for a month and a half that knows how to plow and has the license, that could just jump in the truck and go, we would do that. But, we're plugging along.
Alright, anyone have anything further for Travis?
I have something that's unrelated.
Let me just end this up, so, yeah, one sec,
Sure.
okay, you know what, come on in, what do you got?
Yeah.
Okay, Mike Stahl, 5 Lombard Road. Travis, how long can the plow operators plow before you have to give them a break? Is there a requirement in the collective bargaining agreement?
They have an collective bargaining agreement for breaks. I don't know offhand. As, believe it or not, Department of Public Works, there is no time limit as the same for over the road truckers. We do, and I try, towards later in the night, we have cots upstairs.
Okay.
So I try to get them in so we can at least get 4 hours of sleep, and then we go out right before, you know, vehicles will come on about 4, because we had to leave ourselves some time because buses roll at 6, so I mean, we try to do that, get everybody in, get a bite to eat, we wake up, have a coffee, go out, and then usually when it's over, there's been times I've taken them out and given them breakfast and try to revamp again, because we just continue on the next day, so I tell them, if you need a break, pull over, you know, take a 15-minute, take a bite, whatever. We always have our lunches and breaks with us, so, if they gotta come back, they gotta come back, but understandably that we gotta make sure that the main drags and routes are open, people can get home safely, so.
How far does the furthest operator have to come to get in, and do you have to give them, do you try and give them advance notice and bring in the furthest operators first?
Fortunately, about half of my crew lives in town.
Okay.
So, I'm probably, and the mechanic are probably the furthest ones out.
Which
We're
is
half an hour.
half hour?
Usually most of the guys that I have are no more than half an hour out.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, anything further? Yours is not on winter operations, something else?
Yeah.
Alright, well, hey, we've had a couple of fantastic years in a row. I know you've heard that from not only us, but from the residents. You know, anything you need from us, please. I love doing this with you because it just makes us smarter on this whole thing that we don't really fully understand. So, thanks for coming in again on this, you know, specific issue. Please let us know if there's anything you need from us.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
So, the railroad tracks on New Westminster.
Yep.
Fabulous. Did we do that? Did the railroad do that? We did
Railroad
that.
finally did it.
Did they?
Yeah, I had called them actually the past couple winters because I lost a plow blade on them going over it. And I told them I'm gonna send the bill next time if they don't fix it.
Good. Good.
Nice.
Thanks for doing that. Thanks for getting that done
But
for
now
us.
it was in dire straits for
Yeah, yeah.
getting it.
Yeah, for sure.
Over it every day.
Much better.
But
Thanks for pushing the issue.
yeah, it is much better now.
Alright.
Thanks, guys.
Alright, have a good night.
Thanks for your time. See you later.
Alright, so the next item we have on here is Damon Schmidt, Royal Sun Host Agreement discussion, which I don't think is working.
It's not working.
Damon continually tried to get on and he gave up, so we're gonna have to push that.
It's fine, okay.
Yeah, I'm not getting good instructions here, so.
Okay, alright, that's the way it goes nowadays, so we will push that off, so is there any action we needed to take specifically? I know we've been talking about having Damon on, he's a hard man to nail down.
Yeah, so the concern was that because he
Expiration.
doesn't have any crop in the ground, that his business isn't, conforming to all the requirements of the community host agreement. And the selectmen, after 18 months may give him an extension, and I recommended that we give him an extension from November to May 31st of 2022. And the board gave him an extension till end of this December.
Yep.
And you wanted to have the conversation with him.
Yeah, sounds good, so we'll just try to get him on our December
Yeah.
13th meeting,
So I'll try for the 13th.
sounds good. Go ahead, you saying something?
No, sir.
Okay. Alright, anything further on this? Anybody wanna? No? Okay, we'll move on. So item, Roman numeral 5C is Community Preservation Committee, church article language for grant agreement and historical preservation restrictions that were all part of Article 6, which was passed at STM. So, who wants to start?
Well, we can start. Did you guys get a chance to review this?
We did.
Yes, up here. I gotta take some notes.
Can you just introduce yourself? Can you
Oh,
guys
I'm so
introduce
sorry.
yourselves, please?
Yeah, Sandra Berry, Susan Worth, CPA. CPC. Yeah, CPC. So let's start with the grant agreement. So, this went out a few weeks ago and Dan actually came back with some suggestions. CPC, Matt, we came up with some suggestions as well and it went to town council and they rewrote it. Just a couple little things I noticed is, actually just one thing, is that under number 6, Dan had suggested that they write in there that contractors are licensed and insured, and I noticed and insured was still eliminated, wasn't included in that.
It is in our version here.
Oh, it is?
Yep. The work shall be performed in good and workmanlike manner by contractors who are licensed and insured in their respective disciplines.
Okay, well, I printed this out today and it's not in mine, so, okay, great.
We got the new updated version.
Super. Alright, that was the only thing that I had noticed that, hadn't been included. And other than that, were you fine with the other, changes that we made?
The council had a question about the 100% reimbursement. Is the church in a position to afford everything to be reimbursed?
Yes, so that's why they actually are taking on a third of the cost, because the vendor wanted a third of the cost up front, and CPC won't do that, or CPA won't do that.
Right.
So that's why they took that, financial responsibility on.
Mhm.
So they're fronting the first third, and then we're gonna pay the 2/3 once the project is completed.
Okay, so the invoices would come to CPA and then CPA would, approve them.
Yeah, CPC would approve them, and
Okay.
then, we would get them paid.
Right,
We'd submit a voucher.
Council just wanted to clarify that one.
Yep, so the church is putting the upfront money, so, okay, that's the
Didn't
only thing I
Alice
can.
send her changes?
She did.
to Bo? So that makes that clear.
Yeah, number 7.
Yeah.
Then we changed number 8, which is instead of, I think it said 3 months or 60 days, we changed it to 1 month. Cause our thoughts are that the project's gonna be over pretty quickly, it's not a long project. And then 14, we changed it just cause we already have temporary signs, CPC has temporary signs that we put up when a project's being done, and it's being funded at all by CPC. So we already have signs, that we put up for that. But in the bylaws of CPC, there is, a bylaw that says they have to place a permanent sign up there, and it has to have specific language, and has to be a specific size, so, and I
So
don't-
are we exempt from our own, are they exempt through this grant because it's through a grant of the sign bylaw?
Oh gosh, that's an interesting
I
question.
figured I asked, you
Yeah.
know what,
Oh, no.
I think no.
I don't know, this is a bylaw CPC put in our bylaws years ago to make sure that we get recognized, or CPA gets recognized for a funding project.
And that's through the town, and we're
Yeah.
exempt from that, but yeah, okay.
Sand, is it in the inside of the building, or you're
No, on the
saying for the
outside.
work?
Yeah, like if you go up to the Unitarian Church, something like that, there's a sign up there, and I don't remember the size and exactly what the language is, but, just acknowledging that it was, done with CPA funding.
So it's like a plaque kinda thing.
It's like a plaque, I mean,
Yeah,
at the
okay.
playground, we didn't put a plaque, we have it on the
Yeah.
sign, but it is up there. So, other than that, I don't see any other changes, or unless anyone else has anything they didn't care about that we suggested.
Just a word on exhibits, the town meeting
Which now,
vote.
we're kinda following around,
Oh, okay.
scrolling a little bit.
We're doing the grant agreement
okay.
right now, is that what you're talking about?
Oh, no, I was down on exhibits, so where are we on that?
I think we were done with it, but,
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so on, after 20 then.
sorry.
Correct.
Alright, I'm just trying to clarify, I was just scrolling through here, so I just,
Let's
exhibit,
keep scrolling.
which exhibit?
Well, there are 3.
Yep.
Exhibit A, the proposal.
Yep.
And then scope of work, and then the town meeting vote.
Yep.
The proposal and the scope of work are almost the same. I was looking through the proposal, and you can almost lift out part of it for scope of work, because otherwise, where does the scope of work come from? Do you see what I'm saying? I think we have it, but it's embedded in the proposal. So it might be just saying pages so-and-so. And then as far as, if, at our next meeting, we need to just nail that down for sure, but.
Okay.
And then the exhibit C, the town meeting vote. When Alice and I were working on this in case it went to MHC, she already got from Lori a certified vote, so that's ready to go.
Yep.
C is all set. It's just a question of lifting out what scope of work is, and then the exhibits are all set. So that's basically done, right, everybody?
I would say so. I mean, we have to have everyone sign off on it,
Right.
and so we have to make sure that, the church agrees with everything that's
Well,
in this
no,
contract, cause they might not. And an update on that, they actually did have their engineering study was done on the 19th of November, they just haven't gotten the report yet.
Alright.
So, things are moving right along. So, other than that, move on to the, preservation restriction agreement. I don't know if you had a chance to read this.
I read through all of it after I had been painting for 4 hours, so it's all a big legal blur.
Yeah, a lot of it is sort of a legal blur,
Yes.
but I'm assuming, town council is very familiar with writing these, and so I trust what they're doing. I just had a couple questions, and my question goes to 2.2, and it's prohibited activities. So I guess we can add anything we want in there, so I don't know if people, or if it's a town, do we have certain things we wanna add in there, and some of my thoughts were, on C, it says the dumping of ashes, trash, rubbish, unsightly or offensive materials, is prohibited on the property. So, I'm wondering, I don't know if anyone remembers, but I thought we had, bylaws in town that like you could only have like one unregistered vehicle on your property, you can't have all this stuff on your property. Does anyone remember? I mean, do we know? Do we have that? I remember coming up at a town meeting a few years back.
I was part of the ad hoc committee, the junk bylaw we called it.
Mhm.
It didn't get
got
passed.
shot
It
down.
got
It
shot
didn't get
down.
passed.
Not even.
So I'm wondering, I think we should put something in here. I mean,
I second that.
I mean, I think we, you know, and my other concern is, so there is a caretaker there now, but it's not a residence. And I think we have to restrict it becoming a residence, like, for a family. Like, it's one thing to have a caretaker there, but are they gonna be allowed to, like, move a whole family in there and have all these vehicles there? I think we should restrict it, myself, cause it's a historical building to the town, it's not someone's place of living.
I agree. So
And like I said, there's a caretaker now,
Yeah.
that's fine, maybe limit how many people can reside there.
Pretty sure his kids already do. Or at least part of the time.
Well, that's a different story.
Yeah, I don't know if it's all the time.
But
his kids are there.
I mean, do we wanna?
There are 2 boys.
Yes.
And the dad.
Yes.
Yeah, Scott.
Yes.
And yeah, that's an issue, but it's there and the town voted it and they are aware of it, but I would love to see them make a step forward to show the town that they're sort of, they understand.
I'm just saying that, I'm just pointing out the obvious.
Yeah.
The other thing is, the other, big white elephant is, Scott does have a business, which is, repairs, so he does have a few vehicles there, mobile repairs.
Several, yeah.
Well, and,
So that's the other big white elephant in the room.
and I think that's a concern, I think if we're helping restore it with a lot of money, that we should be able to say, you know, it's not a private residence. You can't be putting your boats in the backyard and all these multiple cars, I mean, how many vehicles does one person need to have?
At times there are 4, 2
I
commercial
know.
and 2 and yeah, so it's an issue. On the other hand, it is good to have somebody in the building, so if there was a fire or something, you could, you know, at night, but.
I mean, if we don't limit it, or do something to address it, there could be 10 people in there, it could become a shelter.
It's gonna be a whole commune down there, it'll be fabulous.
So why don't you guys draft something up then?
Well, that's what I'm saying, well, I'm looking for anyone else's opinion, I don't wanna be the.
I think you're saying
know,
what other
No,
people
no,
are
I like you
thinking.
being the bad guy. You
Okay, I'll be
do
the bad
this.
guy. I
You
just
feel
think we
free.
I just think we need to restrict it.
I do too. No, I hadn't really considered much of it, but I agree with it, you know, everything you're saying here. Within reason and within all, you know, things that are right and good and all that other stuff, you know,
Mhm.
but still, I think the things you just talked about, which is, you know, habitation restrictions as far as, you know, people who live there, the registered or unregistered vehicles, you know, I don't know how many of the things we can sort of come up there, those are kind of the major ones. You really shouldn't conduct personal business.
Out of the church, I
Out
mean,
of
you
the
can have your
church.
own business, but you shouldn't be conducting another business out of the historical
Correct.
building, yeah.
Correct. No, unless you
I
go-
wonder if
no
there's an
hazardous
alternative
material.
for parking those vehicles somewhere, if they could make a deal with someone or something.
Well, that would be on them to do.
That would be on them, yeah.
You were smiling there, Will.
What?
Well, I'm just,
before- no,
I
just
just,
before you.
I'm just thinking, if it's anything like my house, it's the same conversations I yell at my husband about. What is this big pile of scrap metal? I don't care if we're saving it, it needs to go away, you know? Like, this trash
Yeah.
needs to go, this dumpster is overflowing, you know, it's like those kinds of concerns that could easily get
Right.
away from you.
The light fight starts in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Fill these damn potholes in the driveway, for the love of God.
So
but yeah.
do you want CPC to draft up this language and bring it back to you,
Yes.
like what we're comfortable with, and bring it back to you, okay, so we can.
I think what
do
you
that.
could do is you could send it so we have time to look at it as well, and David
Mhm.
can send it to David or whatever, and then we'll have a chance to review, and then we can give our comments back on it, so we don't have to go through a whole other meeting cycle.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely, that's
Okay,
fine.
great.
other than that, that was all I really, that jumped out at me that I thought needed to be addressed. Other than that, everything else looked pretty good, a lot of good language. The only other thing I was thinking is we should probably send this to the historical commission too, to review, to make sure they're in agreement with everything, seeing they're signing off on it, maybe they have suggestions as well.
Okay.
Are you all set?
Yeah, go ahead.
And
Okay.
just to clarify, sorry, the Hubbardston Historical Commission.
Correct.
Correct. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Under 5C, grantors reserved rights. My husband was reading through this afternoon, cause I was busy earlier, and the right to make changes of any kind to the interior of the building. That, I said, what does that mean? And then it refers to like, our historical folks should go in, if they wanna make any changes, they should check with our folks. I mean, minor changes like painting or you know, something that's just normal, but the right to make changes of any kind to the interior of the building? Because I know this was focused on the exterior, but to me, that is like gigantic red flag. Am I overreacting?
What, so, just so we're clear, what, you're, cause I'm not, you're saying we shouldn't restrict?
We
What-
should.
Right, okay.
Okay, yeah, because this is this is a, you know, a boilerplate template, and for a church, the upstairs sanctuary is in pretty good shape. The downstairs is more of just a fellowship hall and mishmash, I'll just say it. But what if the right to make changes? I don't think that's major, so I think that language needs to be looked at, and we can certainly discuss this at our next CPC meeting. It does refer back to what normal things would be, and that and some of these restrictions, they even appoint someone like historic, the commission like Gary, to go through annually. And,
Sure.
And maybe even have an open house, to try to involve the community more. So if you look at some of the other restrictions, you get some good ideas. And I have a few more, but that one, do we agree that maybe needs some clarification? Cause otherwise that looks like you can do whatever you want, and that didn't make sense to me.
Alright, just for conversations, do we care?
Yes.
What they
Well,
do to the
that's
inside.
like-
I care, I'm just saying, why,
Yeah.
so to what level do we care? Okay, so I'll rephrase.
Okay.
So what, you know, cause I'm trying to figure out how do you actually word a restriction into that? Like, how do you define every possible thing in the, like, is it a dollar threshold, is it a square footage threshold for a threshold for?
It's an appropriateness to the architectural integrity and the historic.
Subject to whose review? Subject,
See,
again, I'm
that's
just
why
playing devil's
MHC would
advocate.
come in handy.
Sure, no, that's fair.
Well, maybe to the historical commission's
Yeah.
review, maybe we should
Well, I
have
mean,
them
just common
run it
sense.
through them.
You can't just go in and move the pews around or things like that. The upstairs should basically stay put, and I'm not saying they have any other ideas, but I'm just saying, that just stuck out to me like, what? I know we're focused on the exterior, but,
I
so
wouldn't
maybe we
leave too
just need
much
to
to
discuss.
common sense anymore, cause common sense
Is not
a
common.
lost art.
I
Right.
think you just, I'm only speaking for you blindly, but I think the of any kind is what's bothering you too,
Yeah,
right?
because that's like, if it means what it says, then that's kind of like open to,
I know, but what if it had just said the first time you read this, or your husband, the right to make changes to the interior of the building? It wouldn't seem so, the of any kind does sound, make it sound a little,
or how about just the fellowship hall is more, it doesn't have any historical integrity, but the upstairs sanctuary should not be touched.
alright, so the right to make
Except
changes of
for-
any kind to the lower level, or whatever you
Yeah.
wanna call it,
Right.
of the building.
Well, yeah, flexibility down there.
Who are we granting this right to?
The
Grantor.
grantor,
Grantor.
the people, the church folks. We're the grantee, right?
Yeah, cause the upstairs is like a time warp going,
Yes,
Yeah, so if you
I
screw
wouldn't
with
call
it,
it pristine,
yeah.
but it hasn't been messed with.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, they themselves messed with it at one point when they switched the pews.
Yeah.
The direction of the pews. The church itself got raised up and turned 90 degrees. So change has occurred. But I think that one just needs to be clarified and examined and maybe more.
reel it back in.
Yeah, there's a good one. And then there's just one more, that bothered me because we have made a gigantic investment, and I'm thrilled that the town supported it. Because 4 years, 2 town meetings, no, and then finally it comes together, the pieces did. I don't wanna, jinx it or anything, but on 16, let's see, what section is that? Just keep going. 16, notice of proposed sale. It looks like we have made this $100,000.
I don't have
Hold on,
a
we're out of
you don't have
order.
16.
Grantor shall promptly notify grantee in writing of any proposed sale of the property and provide the opportunity
Yep,
for
on the same
grantee
page.
to explain the terms of this preservation restriction agreement to potential new owners prior to sale closing. It's on the electronic version, but I think a few pages got missed on the
Yeah,
hard
this got
copy.
missed, yeah, we're,
Oh, okay.
we jumped.
Well, that one, cause I've been intrigued by that since the beginning. Because of course the church says, well, we'll never sell it, it's always gonna be a church, and the deed says it always has to be a church, but stuff happens. It's a very small congregation, the town did step up, and at least we can preserve the exterior, so that's the good news. But who knows what the future holds, and if I'm understanding this correctly, it's for 20 years, right, and then it has to be renewed, this restriction?
I don't know.
It's in there,
I
yeah.
thought it was permanent.
I thought it was permanent too. Till someone challenges it, maybe and changes it.
And, because I contacted Stuart at the CPA Coalition, and he said, up to 30 years, they do this type of restriction. And New Bedford has done some, and he said he would send some, but of course the time lag, he hasn't sent it yet, as some examples. But if it goes over 30 years, automatically, Mass Historic has to step in, it just triggers it. Which,
If what goes over 30 years?
if the preservation restriction goes through, in other words, we want it to be in perpetuity, that was the ideal.
Yeah, right.
But this is what we call a term or local restriction, and it's only 20 years and it has to be renewed. It's a 99-year term, am I getting this, Dave?
You're looking under it's under 18, under runs with the land after the binding
Okay,
effect is
exactly, it's just down from the one we were talking about.
It's 4 paragraphs, you don't want
Runs
to
with the
read it.
land, 99 years. And then, if I'm, and my husband and I were talking about this, does that mean the 20 years are included in that 99, or is it, once you get to 99 years, then you have to renew it? Because then we'd be triggered by MHC.
Well, you have several mass general laws that it references, you'd have to look up all of them.
And you don't know what laws are gonna change in 99 years.
Well, but,
And none of us are gonna be around.
I am.
so what does that one mean? Does that mean that renewed for successive 20-year periods? This is for 99 years, or are the 20 years included in that 99? And then you have to,
Either
renew.
way, even if it's the 20 years included in the 99, yeah, we're all, no matter what, we're all gonna be dead, okay?
Exactly. I know, but I wanna do it right if we can, but
Well, what are you trying to do, to like just change that 20-year language, or are you saying that we need to renew it in 20 years, or within 20 years?
we would have to, and there's let's see. Prior to 30 days from the date, blah, 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 the filing notice, and then you would, renewal period is allowed by Mass 84, general law. So originally, if we went through Mass Historic, it would be in perpetuity, but that's not what we're doing. We're taking the shortcut, but thank goodness we are, because Mary's up against it because they can only keep the price until the middle of January.
So
and so
can
it-
we, go ahead,
Is that making sense at this point? So, I mean, this is valid.
can we do this for now and then maybe put it on
Eventually,
our, or even
that's
put it
what
on
I'm
CPC
thinking.
for next year to?
Well, not even next year, but down the road, because if this was a historic district,
Mhm.
and that could go on the register, there are matching funds from MHC. They're doing that over in Hardwick for the church with a big steeple there in Gilbertville. So,
I'm just saying, I mean, this protects us at least for now, maybe we need to just put it on
That's
our
what-
agenda to move getting the Mass Historic
Eventually.
involved.
but this at least
Why not do it,
gets it
yes, why
done
not do
now.
it like a year from now, so put it on our agenda to
Right.
get it done.
So
That'll-
we're okay, I
That'll give me
mean,
enough time to check with council to find out if this is a statutory limitation on the historic preservation restriction
Mhm.
or not.
Being local or not, yeah.
Yeah. 99 years will do it, right? You have 99 years to check.
Okay.
Very funny, but seriously,
No,
if
we'll
it goes over, do you want me to read the email from Stuart? If it
No, well,
Absolutely
let's,
not.
yeah,
No,
just, so
please-
let's
please
just,
do not.
we'll just address it in a year, we'll put it on our agenda to address it with our CP3C within a year. Once it gets done, then we'll say, let's move forward with trying to get the master survey,
Okay.
cause it's not gonna hold anything up
I'm okay with that.
if we do that.
But then back to 16, sorry, I digress and then I'm done.
Rose sale again.
We've invested this $100,000 and they say, well, no, we're never gonna sell it, but stuff could happen and they could sell it.
So whenever.
So at that point, what happens to our investment? Some people have put in their restrictions that they have to pay it back out of the proceeds, cause
Well,
otherwise,
but even if they sell it, doesn't the restriction follow the sale?
Yes, it does.
it does, and that means the people would buy it knowing that.
Yeah.
But then when they sell it, what happens? Do you see what I'm
It's
saying?
still
So it just
follows.
stays with it.
Forever.
Yeah.
But so when the church would sell it to someone, I'm not saying they're planning that, but if they did, so when that, let's say it's worth $250 now, and they sell it for $350, so they get $350,000, the church, and they just walk away with it?
Because the reason they got more is partly because of us helping to fix it.
Yeah.
But
And-
the deed
and-
says it has to remain a church, I
Yeah,
mean, I
so
don't,
it-
what, another church is gonna come in and buy it?
We don't know. We don't know. And do we wanna restrict to say the business could never be there? We can only protect so much, but what do we wanna try to protect is what I'm saying. So,
Well, I
mean,
guess at some point your 100,000 kinda depletes itself too, I mean, how long you gonna hold
well,
these
that's a
people?
good point too.
I mean,
the
everything
life of the building.
depreciates, yeah, exactly.
So no one else is concerned about that, because if a town member asks me, I'm gonna say, well, we've made that investment in it, and the building at least is protected the exterior, which will help the longevity
I mean,
But
you
I-
can put, well, just real quick to add to this, we're having a conversation, cause I know my company has something where you, within 3 years, you can't sit, cause the previous owners don't want somebody making a ton of money if you buy
yeah,
it or
yeah,
whatever,
sure.
so.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So that, there's
that's-
this short-term restriction that could just be in there just so we know someone's not looking to flip it right away.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm sure
I know
that-
that, no,
yeah, I know.
I'm just saying,
No,
that's
it's true.
Yeah.
that's a compromise protection.
Mhm.
Yeah.
3 years, 5 years, so something like that.
So we could come up with a
And you're
amount of
right,
years.
I mean, you know, in 30 years or 20 years, some of us won't be here to
Well,
work.
and what, you know, the exterior may not look so beautiful anymore,
Yeah.
so they,
Oh, I hope this stuff will last for 20, yeah, but,
oh, no, I know, you said
Yeah.
30.
what?
So,
It
no,
said
I'm
it's
just
gonna
saying,
last,
we're
but
just-
it's gonna last for 50 according to the
Yeah.
vendor.
Right, okay.
Well, we could do something like that, like we could say cannot be sold within 5 years,
But they can still sell, but without the town receiving
and funds, yeah.
something back.
So I
I
guess
mean,
we would
with
have
the
to
town
decide how we would
Be
work
correct,
with that.
with the town review.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's fair because otherwise, I mean,
50% of the
Mary's a
proceeds.
deer, but she's not a spring chicken, you know, I mean, and she sort of is holding things together. I just don't know what
I
the
think we
future
talked
is.
about this at length, and I was the one that brought it up many times. If we're putting $100,000 into this church and it gets sold in 5 years, I want at least my $100,000 back.
Bingo, that's all I'm
So
saying.
what we
Plus,
have to,
plus the increased value of the property
Well, now
that
you're
it sells
getting,
for.
yeah, well, that's.
So if it goes from $250 to $350 and gets sold, I want a minimum of $100,000 back.
And
Plus
maybe
the
a percentage
increase,
of.
plus the increase of the property value because of the siding that was put on it.
so what we would have to do is do an assessment now, prior to anything getting done, cause there needs to be some baseline,
Right.
right? So
Okay.
before it gets done, the property, the actual structure itself, what is the value of it, so that we have something to compare later on.
But if we're asking for that, should we pay for it because they're already paying for the structural analysis and so, you mean a formal analysis?
I mean, I don't know.
Nobody will say, just come in and assess this.
Yeah.
Well, okay, hold on, isn't it assessed already
Yeah,
through the
it's
town?
gotta be assessed somehow.
Right.
It's gotta be
So we
assessed
could-
value.
Alright, but could we include that in there? Is everybody comfortable?
Well, I think you
I-
can put anything in there, it's gotta get through legal and then it
Yeah.
also has to get through the church people
Right.
agreeing
Yep.
to those
Right.
terms, which you never know at what point they're gonna be like, that isn't gonna
Well,
work
this
for us.
is
Yeah.
always negotiation, right? So you
Right.
put a wish list in, and then that's the sort of thing that we'd like in there.
I'm trying to be responsible, cause I
Yeah.
feel like I've been sort of the nudge that's been, you know, and then I'm stepping back and saying, okay, so we've made this gigantic investment.
Buyer's remorse is what this is.
No, I'm thrilled that, like I said, I every time I drive by there, I'll be so happy.
I know, I'm looking
And I
forward to
almost
it.
don't care what goes on in the bottom floor, but the top floor I do. you know, because that's historically pretty much pristine, so we'll work on that on our next meeting, right, Sandra?
Sure.
And then as far as the exhibits for this, because Alice and I worked on that other stuff for MHC, it's basically ready to go. It just needs to be in a different format. In other words, they want a history of the building and the changes, the alterations it's gone through. So the project notification for MHC was just, it's tough stuff to wade through. So we're pretty much ready. We could have this done by the end of next week if we have a meeting early in the week.
Yeah,
No?
Look at that was,
And I know
on her
Christmas
list.
is coming and the goose is getting
no,
fat and.
but you guys only have one more meeting, so
Yeah.
there's, and we have a time restriction, we want this done by the 15th of January, so they
Right,
can lock in
because
their dates,
to lock in their
so-
money because of their
Your next
materials.
meeting's in 2 weeks?
13.
Okay, let's see what we can do and if we can get it together by 13th.
An early meeting for CPC and then, like I said, it's pretty much cooked, it just needs to be tweaked then for this format.
Need to be basted, that's all.
We can always be flexible too, meaning if something doesn't come together, cause your review or legal review or whatever else, and we have to sort of add another, you know,
Meeting right before Christmas, it'll be so fabulous,
Exactly.
Or right after Christmas.
Whatever,
whatever.
so just let us know, I mean, the point is, we don't want this to cost more because they didn't lock in a number just because we're, you know,
Well, and we're
'cause,
still
you
waiting
know,
for
she's
the
taking care of a baby, we don't want
Yeah,
that to
yeah,
get in
Right.
the way.
Yeah.
She's already gone above and beyond, you know. David, so who do we send these exhibits to? You? Are you the clearinghouse then, at this point?
I can do that.
Okay, because the other one is basically done except for the exhibits, right? And then this one, we need to,
Refine.
yeah, well, the committee needs to add some ideas and you guys need to at least give an opinion on it and then we
Okay.
can move on. But, no, I'm thrilled that this is an option, because the other one would take forever.
Mhm.
The one on Williamsville Chapel took about 2 years,
That
from
takes a long
beginning
time.
to end.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the
this-
only other thing I can say is we didn't put these kind of restrictions like on the, First Parish Church.
Yeah,
Well,
so
we
you
didn't
know.
do as much work there either.
And we still gave them $100,000
We did?
at the
Yep.
beginning, absolutely. They
Yeah.
were the
that's
very
what
first
I'm saying,
CPC
is,
project.
yeah, this is the grant that I get if they sold it, blah, 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 you want your money, I get that, but, yeah, I totally agree, we have not, the town has not asked for these kinds of things for any of the other projects.
From any of the other properties.
Well,
That doesn't stop us from doing
No,
this.
it doesn't. It
Things
doesn't,
can
but,
change
yeah.
as time goes on and but I would suggest if we're gonna start doing this, we do it to everybody, we don't just single out this church.
well, we have 4 buildings basically in this, the library, they have
That's town-owned.
they're working on it, they had the new roof and so forth, they have 58,000 sitting there not used yet.
And we're
First-
asking ourselves, cause we're the town and we own it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
But I'm
and
talking
that's the one
about
that's, the
somebody
only one that's
else's
owned by
property.
the town. And now the historic commission has Williamsville Chapel and this one then,
Mhm.
so. And they're probably feeling left out, so I mean, at some point we need to have a master plan. No, really, I
Who's
mean,
feeling left out?
the First Church, because at this point, pretty soon they're gonna need some major stuff, and
They
Williamsville
just got
Chapel
some
needs
major
paint.
stuff.
They've
What?
had 2 things,
Yeah.
they've had 2 major things done to that church.
With,
Alright, so,
Okay, anyways, I think we're done.
yeah, I was gonna just move us along.
So, we're gonna get our 100 back, right? We're gonna
We're gonna discuss it at our meeting.
Okay,
Alright.
alright.
But thank you very much.
Alright, thank you guys. Okay, next item, room number 5D is declare surplus, for the 2006 F-450 dump truck and plow. You just need a vote for us to declare it surplus?
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions on this before we go into?
I'm sorry, what do we do declaring surplus, the truck or the funding for the truck?
The truck,
The truck itself,
truck
okay.
itself.
We wanna declare it surplus and then sell it?
Is this one Travis just said he replaced, he
Yep.
got a new,
Okay.
This will keep the auditors happy.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we declare the 2006 F-450 dump truck plow surplus.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. That is unanimous. So we're on to old business, Roman numeral 6A, so we've got, VSO update on Veterans Service Agreement.
So we have the town of, the city of Gardner very much wants us to be part of their district, but I have negotiated with, Templeton and Sheila Pelletier has agreed to be the Veteran Services Officer for the town of Hubbardston, and this is her wage authorization form. I checked in with Ryan, he's very enthusiastic about the quality of her work. We're gonna start her off at 4 hours a week, see how that goes. If we need more time, there's room in the budget to go to 8 hours a week.
So, you know, David and I had corresponded about this a couple of times, and the main thing, you know, we talked about previous meeting too, was making sure Ryan feels comfortable with the way forward. He's got a lot of experience in this sort of things, and just to reiterate what David said is he's 100% behind this. Ryan,
Yeah,
correct?
yes.
Yeah.
And which towns fall under the purview of this agreement?
No towns,
No
it's the
towns.
same employee, so the employee is
Right,
hired by
but what
Templeton.
towns would she service?
She works for Templeton and she'll also work for us, but there's no intermunicipal agreement.
Okay,
Right,
It's
so
just
she's-
like you holding two jobs.
She's gonna be our employee.
okay.
Do you need a
Okay.
motion on this, David?
Yeah, and we need to talk to the city of Gardner. They deserve an explanation as to why we're not gonna go with a VSO district. So,
Yes, ma'am?
Hi, I'm Lynette Cabrilla, the veterans agent for the city of Gardner. That's actually why I was here. I didn't realize that you guys were going to do that. I thought we already had it in agreement that we were going to be part of the district, because I've been waiting on this for over a month, and I have veterans that are not getting paid right now. So that's why I've been waiting for this, and you guys didn't let us know so that I could continue on with the rest of the district. Like, this really set me back. I have veterans that only receive SSI and get like $700 a month that have been waiting for this.
That sucks. So, yeah, we've been, you heard some of this. I don't know if you know Ryan from town, Ryan McLean. Our town administrator is serving in Iraq right now.
Right.
And correspondence is difficult, but we wanted to make sure that he's from that was his life prior to being a town administrator, was in Saugus, and he developed a three town program there. Anyways, it was his life for a decade before sort of coming here. So we wanted to get his input on it, and so we were going back and forth with him with as much correspondence as we could. Recently, got, you know, feedback back from him that the way he wanted to move forward was what we just talked about.
Right, but what I don't understand is why I didn't know about that ahead of time, because my veterans in other communities have been waiting. Like, I'm sure Mr. Nixon has told you, I have been calling him, emailing him nonstop, because I'm fielding all these phone calls from veterans that live on SSI. They get like $700 a month. They haven't been paid since July, and they're supposed to be receiving this as a monthly benefit. I feel like it's very unprofessional that you guys didn't let us know ahead of time, because all of my other communities were waiting for this agreement to be signed by you. And I think that's really unprofessional, and it really does, it's not a good justice to be done to our veterans. I think I'm sorry that I'm a little upset right now, but I've had this, like, I started as the Director of Veteran Services for the City of Gardner on October 4th. I found out that day that this was happening, and I was already told that we already had an agreement. So I have 4 signatures on a contract that does nothing for me because I can't submit it now. I have to start all over fresh and go back to each town to get it re-signed again. And it changes our population amounts, it changes a lot of things, because you guys didn't give us that information ahead of time, and instead we kept getting pushed back and saying, oh, well, we'll send it to you next week, we'll send it to you next week. Meanwhile, I'm the one fielding phone calls from veterans that are not getting paid, and you guys were just pushing us around. That's not acceptable. I understand that this is what you want to do, and that's totally fine, but you could have given us the heads up so that our other veterans aren't getting a disservice done to them.
Yeah, I apologize. Clearly, this is, you know, not the way that, you know, we typically conduct business by any means. So I'm not sure where the communication broke down on this. I'm unaware that you thought that there was an agreement pending for signature, because we were aware, or thought anyway, that we were going through the process, and that wasn't the preferred way forward for us based on what our, town administrator who's deployed right now wanted, and we had been checking other options for that and thought we sort of recently found that option after finally getting, the feedback back from him, like I just said there, and we were here tonight to talk about it like that. So I don't know what else to say. I know there's not much we can do at this point because our decision's been made, and I understand you're pissed off, and I hear you and agree with you, but I don't know what else to say. I think you told us that we do bad business as far as, this is concerned, and I can't really disagree with you. Sure.
I was gonna address something, but she's leaving, so it won't be appropriate.
Do you want me to stay for a minute?
Well, I'll take it outside.
Okay. Okay. I don't know, does anyone wanna talk about that?
David, do you need a
I don't
motion?
completely understand it. What?
I think there might have been a mishap or a,
I did not, well, first of all, just the facts is that I've never given them any indication that we're in agreement that we would be pursuing this district. I have not been forthcoming with all the facts because I didn't know all the facts myself. I didn't know what Templeton would do. I didn't know that we would be putting things together in this configuration. I had to check with Ryan, so there was delay. But at no point did I say that, yes, we're interested.
So when did our agreement with them expire?
We never had an
We
agreement.
never had one. We
We
were
had an
with
initial-
Westminster.
yeah.
So what'd we do? Tell her we were gonna get into one with her?
She thinks we did. David's saying that we didn't
Right.
quite get there, so I think it was just, she was hopeful.
Well, it's a disconnect. Probably on her end.
well, she's also a new didn't she indicate she's a new employee for
Yeah,
Gardner?
she was
Yeah,
told
just
that
started.
this was happening, so in
Yeah.
other words, she was getting it from her end that this was happening.
So she's holding up the payments to the veterans.
She's not holding them up. They're getting hold up because
Paperwork.
we didn't sign.
They're getting held up
Yes.
because she was anticipating we were gonna sign an agreement that we never said we were going to sign.
Yes.
Right.
The last communication we had with the mayor of Gardner was that he presented to us the state requirement for the minimum staffing that he needed to meet. He was going to be hiring new people and that assessment was going to be passed on to the 5 communities that would be part of this theoretical district. At that time, it was much more than our budget could handle, so you all instructed me to check out an agreement with Templeton.
Other options, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, we don't want, they're our big north neighbors, right? That we don't wanna have sour relations with Gardner, so, I do think, because she's not gonna say good things. So I think, if you can make some direct contact, with the mayor in whatever means you need to, as far as an email or a phone call or something like that, sort of just explaining your, and our view of the situation, I think that'd be necessary.
Yep, happy to do that.
Okay.
So back to the item at hand, David, what type of motion do you need to move forward with this?
I've made the offer, she's accepted it, so I'm informing you of the wage authorization.
So you don't need anything from us unless we were to veto?
I think it would be good if we had a motion.
What's the woman's name?
Sheila Pelletier.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we hire Sheila Pelletier as our veteran service officer.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Unanimous. Okay, so we have, for old business B, the fiscal year 23rd cost of living adjustment. This is based on some conversations we had at our last meeting. You wanna just tell us what we're looking at?
Sure, so I put together a couple of indices of where the cost of living adjustment should be or is going to be. So and the board asked for some projections based upon the collective bargaining agreement for the police department and for the DPW. So the Social Security, COLA is 5.9%. Massachusetts consensus revenue forecast for this past year was 3.5%. The National Consumer Price Index was 5.4%. And the collective bargaining agreements in FY '22, the fire department got a 2% increase, police department got 1%, the DPW got 3%, and the non-union people got 3%. Looking at the collective bargaining agreements for the next fiscal year, fiscal '23, police department is for 2% and DPW is for 2%.
And fire will have,
We'll have to negotiate this spring.
okay. So,
What is your recommendation, David?
My recommendation is 3% for the non-union people.
which is what was stated last meeting
Yeah.
as well, 3%, so this is what we were,
So it would be theoretically 1% higher than the 2 CBAs that are settled.
Yes,
And does that keep us competitive with the neighboring towns?
it helps a lot.
Okay.
well, I think you're asking, does the 2% or the 3%?
Just the 3%. So if we were to do 3% for, cause David just said he'd recommend 2023, 3% for non-union.
Yeah,
Right.
And you say it will keep us competitive. Do you think we're gonna get any, do you feel like the CBA agreements between police and DPW were sufficient with other incentives to equate it out to be fair across the board?
Incentives for stipends,
OT,
longevity,
et cetera, et cetera.
longevity, that sort of stuff, yeah.
extra holidays,
Yeah.
Opportunities to
The whole
get-
gamut.
Yeah, the whole gamut. And
I do, I'm just,
Okay.
cause I
I haven't seen the other agreements, so I
mean, I
wouldn't-
think I actually stated that last meeting too, cause you had asked a similar question of why it was so low, because we had negotiated other pieces of that were acceptable to them,
Okay.
you know, at the time, and then, you know, I think even a little bump like this would, you know, specifically everybody understanding and living within the world we're living in now, where things are
Yes.
increasing, you know, I think it's in line.
And you feel we can afford the 3% increase for the non-union for the next fiscal?
I think so.
Okay, we're not actually voting or anything on this, right? This is like a sort of a directive or a piece of the budget that we're just discussing?
Right, so if I can go to the department heads and say, put in for a 3%, that gives them the ability to finish off the budget requests. And when I put everything together and match it to the available revenues, if there's a shortfall, we can revisit this issue.
Yeah, sounds good. Where are you? Alright, okay,
I gotta sneak out.
alright. Thanks
Before
for
my
coming.
phone starts ringing.
Thanks for coming. Alright.
Someone keeps time when I'm not there.
Yes.
Alright, so next item, we got the town administrator report, that's, we'll be wrapping up pretty soon here, but, you sent this to us today?
I did. Alright, we've touched on a lot of things here, but I think it might be helpful for us to think about the money that's being offered. We have the ARPA money, we know that we have $1.4 million of that that's dedicated to the town of Hubbardston. That can be used in the next couple of years from a variety of issues, and Ryan has some definite ideas. There's also the Commonwealth ARPA and surplus local share. This is an effort by the Senate and the House at the state level to give cities and towns $2.5 billion of state ARPA money, augmented with $1.2 billion of state surplus. And the House and Senate each passed versions of this bill. They did not give themselves enough time to reconcile it by November 17th, which is when they went into informal session.
Yep.
So that money is going to be coming, but we won't know more about it until January when they come back into formal session.
That's where our 250's in, right?
Sorry?
Do we have 250,000 into that through Ann Goby?
Yes.
Right, okay.
$500,000 actually.
Oh, it's $500,000, okay.
United States Infrastructure Act allots $9.3 billion to Massachusetts over the next 5 years. And the Commonwealth augments the federal general funds with state surpluses. Municipalities will get $5 billion for safe streets for all, $5 billion for for a competitive national infrastructure assistance program, at least $63 million for EV charging stations, and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Build Back Better, the US legislation passed the House of Representatives and now before the Senate. The Senate is expected to make changes, and whatever ultimately is passed, there'll be a lot of money coming to states and districts. And then finally, the opioid crisis settlement. Massachusetts will receive $527 million over the next 5 years. 15% of that will be given to municipalities for abatement programs, and our share of all of that will be about $6,300 divvied up over a 5-year period.
So do you know, does that go to just straight town, or does it go to school districts as well, or any idea?
It's going to towns and districts.
Towns and school districts, or,
Yeah.
or meaning basically whether or not this would, we usually funnel this sort of stuff through the police department, right? They'll have yeah, okay.
So there's a lot of money on it coming our way, and it's going to be a little hard for us to judge the scope of some of our projects. We don't want to plan too large and have the money not be there, but we also don't want to plan too small and have so much money left over that we don't know quite what to do with it.
Oh, I'm sure we can find ways.
Yeah. So there's going to be some thought into how this money is going to be deployed.
Okay. Alright, what else you got? Anything that we haven't talked about?
Our revenues and expenses through October look good. We're ahead of the curve. And we took care of that. And that's about it.
Is there any movement on the cell tower? I haven't seen anything over there.
They brought in the steel, and it's been stored at the DPW for safekeeping.
Yeah.
The application for the building permit still hasn't been reviewed by the city of Gardner. That was submitted back in October.
Awesome.
I asked Mallory to follow up with Roland.
He's on vacation still, or is he back?
He should be back.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone have any questions on the TA report? No? Okay, next item, policies review. We don't have any. Matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I just wanted to bring up, relative to the town center committee, there is tomorrow, there is a meeting, I forget the exact name of the POP meeting, POP, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
POP, it's Mass DOT, it has to do with all of the approved projects, in the TIP program, which we're in, we're $5 million, our town center project's in there. So there's 18 projects, I think. They do this, a couple times a year to basically hear updates on where things are so that they can know whether or not they can still keep us and other towns or other municipalities within the slots that they've currently got in there. So we'll be on it, as well as our engineers, TEC, basically to answer any questions. They don't want any presentations, because they basically say, we're gonna talk about each of these 18 or however many of them for 4 or 5 minutes, because we have a lot of them to get through, and it's whatever. So they basically just want us there and the engineer there in case they to answer any questions. So we've got a couple members of the TCC that'll be, joining. I'm not sure if you're gonna join, but and then also TEC's got a couple people who'll be there too. So we should be covered for any questions. I'm not sure what they would be, but we can give an update on the right of way and whatever else we need to. So that's happening tomorrow. But that's all I got. Anybody else got anything else for that popped up? No? Public press questions? No? Okay. It's 8:30.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second it.
Okay, not debatable. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye, yes. 8:30. Sounds good.
We done.